Welcome to the BNI Blast on Blab. If you're listening to this on the replay, retweet and share this with your followers and fellow BNI and business networking colleagues. If you're listening to this on YouTube, feel free to subscribe and make some comments in the show notes. My name is Brian Lobig of Lobig Inc. Web Consulting and the member of the BNI Capital Business Alliance in Bethesda, Maryland. I provide web design, SEO services to small businesses and internet strategies to other marketing and consultant firms. And my co-host is Philip Day of Philip Day Communications. And he's the new president. I can still call him the new president of the BNI Who's Who networking group in Charlottesville. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, and I appreciate that, Brian, because when you call me the new president, that gives me still plenty of room to make mistakes. So I'll take that. All right. Well, bottom line is I'm Philip Day with Philip Day Communications. Since I was a kid, I've loved to write, and I have turned that passion for writing into my own marketing company out of Charlottesville, Virginia. And what I do really is help small businesses communicate to other businesses and to other consumers about their products through websites, social media. I do voiceovers for industry films and commercial spots. But most of all, I enjoy working with entrepreneurs to help them sell their product and become successful.
Very good. And you can tell from his voice, he's good at voiceovers as well.
Well, I used to be in radio too. So
our co-producers who are kind of out in the wings is Stephanie Montenegro of MMI Marketing, and also Ninja Boss DC, my son. He likes to call himself Ninja Boss. He should be logging in shortly. He helps take care of the comments on the side if there's a lot of activity over there. I always like to define what Business Networking International is. We call this the BNI Blast on Blab. So BNI is an acronym, stands for Business Networking International. BNI is the largest business networking organization in the world with over 7,000 chapters. I'm sure there's some in Kenosha, actually. 190,000 members. In 2015, BNI generated 7.7 million referrals, resulting in more than $9 billion worth of business to its members. BNI offers members the opportunity to share ideas, contacts, but most importantly, referrals.
Referrals.
That's right. That's your cue, like when I say.
I like when you do. Referrals.
Most importantly. So if you're a member of BNI and would like to be considered for an interview, just visit bniblast.com. At this time, you can, if you're watching this on Blab, you can share the last 30 seconds. There's a little button on the top left-hand side of your screen over there. If you're looking at a desktop, that'll share it out to your Twitter account. And I'd like to do a little introduction of our special guest today. He is not currently a BNI member, but he's a member of just about everything else in the world. Tony Moore is the owner of Moore and Associates. He's the founder and executive director of Birds of a Feather agency. He's the head coach of the Kenosha Ballers, and he's the new author of Freedom, a daily devotional for those in the midst of the struggles of life. And one of the most recent accolades he's gotten among many in the southeastern Wisconsin community is that he was recently honored by the Mary Lou and Arthur Mahoney. Is that Mahoney? Is that the correct pronunciation? Mahone. The Mary Lou and Arthur Mahone Fund as Kenosha, Wisconsin's Living Legend Award. A very unique and unhumble presentation that just happened this summer. Yes. Tony, welcome. Tell us a little bit about where you're from. You know, there's not a lot of people know about Kenosha. They might have heard. They know about Chicago, which is your neighbor in Milwaukee. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and what you're currently working on.
Well, from Kenosha, we uniquely placed between Chicago and Milwaukee, and we get a lot of the metropolitan area coming to our city to enjoy as a tourist city. It's really more of a lake town. We got the Lake Michigan, so there's a lot of yachting and those kind of things coming in as a tourist attraction. The things that I'm working on now myself personally is just trying to expand the business of counseling, substance abuse counseling, criminal thinking, to a population and try to change the dynamics of what counseling has been in the past, because the counseling that we use from 1950 to today's day has not worked really good. I think it doesn't work because mostly everybody tends to use a correction model instead of using a love model. Love is, I'm gonna help you through how many times that I need to. I'm gonna give you the opportunity to get it right. Correction says I run out of opportunities, and after third or fourth time, I'm moving my money to someone else because you're not going to get it. So it tends to cause people more relapses and recidivism, and you get like thrown away. I don't think the model work. So I use a different model to try to expand, and I've been blessed to also use it on me. So I use it on me first and experiment it, and it works.
Tell us what you mean. You use it on you. Tell us a little bit about your history.
Well, history. I've been in prison, five incarcerations. The cliche word is 5-time convicted felon. I went to prison 5 times. From the age of 12 to 35, I did 18 years. In and out of all the penal systems in Wisconsin. And I always was, how can you say, an inmate that was, I just always did what I needed to do when I was in jail. I got high grades as far as education, but when I got back home, the street life always took me back to the crime life. And to do it because I felt guilty, to do it because I wanted someone to think that I was all that. There's many reasons. I've been in jail from minor crimes always to the most serious one of murder. And as a juvenile going through that, I put myself in a position where I had to learn how to be an adult too early. Went to prison in boys' school at the age of 15, and here I am in a prison at 15 years old with a murder case and armed robbery. And I have to find myself. I'm loving sports, but I'm still affected by some of the early prison bits because I have a bit of antisocial behavior with me. I don't really like to be enclosed with people, and that had to come out of my early incarcerations, where I spent the majority in my own bedroom, my own cell room. Because of my severity of crime, I was usually segregated from everybody else. And I learned how to deal with that. I don't mind being by myself. And my field, human service, requires me to engage with other people in groups and all kind of things. So I have to fight myself in order to do what I do now.
So 15 to 35, you're like in the prison system. Where was that turning point in your life where things took a turn? Was it a dramatic individual moment, or was it a slow change over time? Tell us about that point in your life where like a light went on and things started to change.
I think, Brian, the momentum has always been there, that I wanted to something better for myself. And it wasn't no overnight success. It was a leading to. So when I got to be 35 years old and I had just got released from prison after doing, I was facing 40 years. And when I got out, I said to myself, I need to do something different. What happened on my last incarceration, my daughter walks into prison on a visit, and I hadn't seen her in, I want to say, at least 6 or 7 years. But my cry was, every time I got out, I was going to go see my daughter. I'm going to see my baby. I miss my baby. So it propelled me to do whatever I needed to do to be a model inmate. So she comes into the prison in 1995, and I see her, and I'm glad to see her. But I wasn't ready for what next came. She was 12 years old, and she said, one of those old counseling things I do now. She asked me, she said, Daddy, why can't you take care of me? Lost it. Didn't know what to say. Crushed me. And I went on with the visit, but inside I was broken. Here was a little girl, 12 years old, asking me, how come I couldn't take care of her? She was with my sisters and they took good care of her, but she wanted her dad because I had made that my business to make sure she was safe. Her mother got turned out on drugs, and that's because of me and living with me and living the lifestyle I was living on the streets. And as a production of who we were, here come this little girl who's going to make me look at myself for the very first time when guards couldn't, counselors couldn't make me look at myself. I could use game. I knew everything to do to get out of prison, so I wasn't really bothered. But when she said that, it stopped everything in me. And I remember going back to my cell and praying to God. I needed something to hold on to. And this is what came to my heart, dropped into my spirit. You can't take care of her until you take care of you. Mm-hmm. So that's what turned things around. And I got on a ferocious, furious road of trying to redeem myself and reach my full potential within myself to be the man I needed to be. And once I became the man I needed to be for myself, it was easy to take care of my daughter. And she's 33 now. She went back to school to compete with me, to try to get grades. We had races in grades where she wanted to try to get more A's than I could get and all of those kind of things. So our relationship now is wonderful. She's 33 years old, and now she got four great grandkids for me that love me, that has never seen me in any other way but where I am now. So they love their papa, and I love the grandkids. They give me a chance to redeem myself as a grandparent.
Tony, speaking of redemption, tell us about how God has also changed your life. That has been something that you seem to talk about quite openly and often, and including your devotional book that you have this year.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Well, I was always taught prayer will allow you to have an audience with a higher purpose, and it helps you find your higher self in meditating on biblical scriptures. And I have always been taught God is something that you can talk to, you can have. And for me, because of my lifestyle and the life that I have lived, I've had personal engagements through drugs, through life, through a lot of things where God has put in my heart to let me know that he was there. I've been shot 9 times from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet in my lifestyle. And
it was more than 50 Cent.
Yeah. That had to be 50 Cent or Tupac. But as a result of that, I found myself on a spiritual road, usually all by myself. I've been in desolated places where I had to go contact God because I was in the loneliness of cell. So you find a need to ask God for help and for guidance. Nobody can't really tell me that it ain't, because I know it is, because he had made his personal visits into my soul and have brought things and showed me things and done things for me. I'm an ex-offender, 5-time convicted felon. Went back to school, got 3 degrees. Those things don't usually happen. He has made every step of my way a blessing, easy. Usually this is how I judge things. I met Brian when I first got out. God placed people in my life to push me to a point where this is where I'm at now. I mean, I have evolved where it's scary to most people. How did you do it? Well, every time I have asked God to give me somebody to help me find my way, a Brian comes along, or Mike Williams, or Pastor Cindy, or the pastor that I'm dealing with now, Barry Baldwin. And they give me the pieces that I need to go on. I was a full-fledged dope shooting, cocaine using, heroin using, drinking alcohol. I haven't done that in 20 years. I haven't even went back.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Carry pistols. I was addicted to breaking guns down, putting them back together. So I had to actually find myself shooting somebody because that's what was consuming me. So I haven't picked up a gun since 1995 because of that reason. Wow. I don't need one. I haven't cheated on my wife because I don't do that no more because it dishonors God in my relationship. So the obedience that comes from what God will see me doing keeps me from sinning to the point where I put myself at risk to go to jail or dishonor God or my belief. So as we talk today,
switching over to one of your to one of your businesses, tell us a little bit. Tell us how you got involved with the Kenosha Ballers semi-pro basketball team.
Yeah.
Well, that's another story. That's a blessing. When I came home, the young men who remembered how I did play basketball invited me on their city league team, rec league team. And they asked me to come play. And I played for a few years and gave me recreations and things to do. One of the older gentlemen that had two sons on the team that we looked up to, his name was Walter Glass. And we had been playing for like 4 years straight. And he said, you know what? You're going to have to coach these guys at some point. I said, I'm not ready to give up playing. I got to play. This is how I get my recovery. This is what I do for my life to get exercise. He said, well, listen, you're going to have to teach them. You're going to have to be a role model to them and show them what it's like to play at high levels. So eventually, about the next 2 years, I start coaching. And they were winning so many games that nobody wanted to play us no more. So they made me quit City League. They made me stop 2 or 3 times. We'll go off 2 years and go do something else, come back and they'll let us play. Then they find out that we're still as good as we was when we left before. And these guys are all getting older. So as the guys got older, I was bringing younger guys in behind them to learn what we did to win. So nobody wanted to play us no more locally for the city league. And we had to travel all over the country, and we were still winning and still playing good basketball. And eventually 2 of the players went and played for a professional team in Illinois. And they came back to me and said, man, you know, you could coach us in a professional league up there. And once the commissioner of the league for the professional league heard about who I was and what I had done with the last 10 years with these guys and win over 300 first place trophies and so, you know, just all the accolades that you get when you focus on something. So we get in the league, we get in the professional league, and the first year we go 9-9. They never heard of it. They never had a team get in and compete at that level. We didn't win the championship, and we found out that it was going to be tougher to win a championship. So in 2011, our first season, we went through the All-Star game, and a couple of players got accolades for how they played. Now, if you fast forward, we learned how to play. We went through the process. We got hit in the mouth. We had to learn to like each other. Because there was a point that I asked my team, I said, only way we're going to win is you guys look at each other and say, I got your back, I love you. Do you know I had these young fellas and none of them would look at each other in the eye and say they love them? And I said, oh, I got troubles. And I knew I had to teach them the fundamentals of the game because all of them was athletes, but they didn't mesh with each other as a team. They just played good at their position. So I had to teach them how a team wins when individuals can't. And that's been the process. So now this weekend we play for the IBA championship and I'm hosting the playoffs in Kenosha. And there's a big following coming because a lot of people didn't believe that I could do it. But I found out in business how to do business and run a team and make a team want to work for each other. I just incorporated it into the basketball. And I knew I had a 5-year window that if I train these guys and teach these guys and show them how to individually take care of themselves, collectively, it would help us be a better team. And they gave me that respect and allowed me to show them how I started businesses and how I started relationships and how I did the things that I did to get to my place. So they respect that. They know the story, so they respect everything that's going on. Because everything that's going on now, I share with them that it was possible. And they're seeing it, and they're just like static over it. So they give me their all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Tony, I used to work at a nonprofit that was the Salvation Army,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw a lot of people coming out of prison who were trying to transition back into life, but they felt like, they were caught in this endless cycle, and we kept trying to encourage them. No, you're not caught in this endless cycle. You can succeed. What do you tell people from that type of background who feel the same way, that it's just in their system and they can't get it out? What do you do to encourage them and get them on the right path?
This is what I learned from Brian when I came home. The first thing you have to do, a man and a woman who's been incarcerated for whatever reason, you have to get them to believe that they can think their way clear of this. The first question I would ask a man, I said, how much money have you spent to do what you did to get you to prison? And most of them will say 100, 200, 500. Some even say $1 million. So if you had to pay that much money to do what you did to yourself, what are you going to do to get your freedom? How much money will you spend to get your freedom? And they'll go to thinking, I spent $1 million or $500,000 on drugs, alcohol, and it didn't do anything for me but give me time. So if you can jar his thinking and make him unclog himself, he'll start thinking about the benefits of the rational thinking of, it doesn't make sense to keep getting high if I say I want to be a business owner or a millionaire, because I can't spend good money after bad. And once a man can understand from an intellectual conversation with himself what is happening to himself, he can stop. He can actually stop and look at himself and turn himself around and say, you know what? It costs too much. I'm paying the dues too much. I'm losing my kids. I'm spending my money. I'm losing my freedom. There's too much cost for a heroin fix. There's too much cost for a cocaine fix. There's too much cost for womanizing. And once you can do that and help them through the process of learning how to think better, I'm blessed because I see the side where I see 10, 15 people who have changed and stayed clean and stayed out of jail longer than they ever had. So I get a chance to see that. And a lot of them look at me and say, I can do that. I said, yeah, you can. There's nothing special about what I did. I just did it. I just put a plan together, put the performance together, took the lack of effort and got it out of my life, even when I am a lazy person. I'm a lazy person. But the criminal thinking codes tell me that like being a lazy person or using lack of effort is a way to get back to prison. I ain't going back to prison. So I'm gonna pick up my books. I'm gonna pick up my own clothes. I'm gonna clean up around my own house. I'm gonna do things that I wouldn't do because I need to build in consistency. And once you get a person to see that consistency and repeated effort, and you start reaping some of the benefits of your work, you start saying, "Yeah, man, I'm not going back. I'm gonna enjoy this life." You know, the book.
If anybody, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The book was the clients told me to do it. All the clients, every time I would come in and I would do groups and I would give things that popped in my head about quotes or use quotes, and they said it for like 10 years straight. Won't you write a book? I'm gonna get around to it. And then one client, when I went into a group, he said, "Look, I've been writing down chapters for you of things that you can put in your book. Here it is." He gave it to me. So I seen this client about a month and a half ago, and he started crying when I told him it was because of you I wrote the book. And he was in my group. And he started crying because I remembered him from when he gave me that stuff, and I went into writing the book. So now he's clean. I seen him a couple of weeks ago. He's still clean. Because that moment of acknowledging him in the group, that he's the one who pushed me to do the book, guys. And everybody looked and seen him, and he had been crying because he was back there feeling ashamed because he's seeing me for the third time. So I let him off the hook by saying, you know what? You're still important because you helped me write a book. And he lost it.
See, that's you do not know the impact that you're going to have on somebody's life at a certain moment. And it takes the things you mentioned at the beginning of our show was that it takes that consistent love, ongoing and never ending. Really,
yes.
Sometimes it takes 2, 3, 4, a dozen times before that one moment when it clicks. Like something, that moment in that group when you said, look, you're back here for the third time, but you made an impact in my life, and look what it's turned out. And that spark of introspection. One of the things we do in treatment is hold up a mirror to people, to their face. Like, this is the real you. It's not pretty. Are you interested in changing something about your life? Here's the harm you cause. Here's the huge negative ripple effect in your life. Are you interested in changing that ripple effect to the positive? Here's how you can start with your thinking. That's fantastic.
Yes. But before we wrap up, if anybody in the audience has a question, please feel free to ask before we close today. Tony, I bet we could do 2 more shows with you at least, maybe more. Yeah, we're going to have to bring you back. You're another one of these guests where we don't have enough time to get everything in 30 minutes. But Tony, my one last question for me would be this: when it comes to sports. I mean, I love sports. Mm-hmm. Why should sports be important? A lot of people look at it as being something kind of, well, it's cool and teammates and all that kind of stuff. But it really means more to you than just a game. Mm-hmm. What is so important to you about the Kenosha Ballers?
I took from people lives, and the basketball sport gives me a chance to give back something that's been my gift. Basketball is my gift. Counseling is my talent. I learned counseling. Basketball, I was born with the gift of the round ball and the way I can escape on a basketball court to be therapeutic for myself. So I give back to the young ball players the essence of the old school game, where you can't disrespect basketball. You got to respect anything that you do. Basketball is so much of a formation of life in itself. It takes hard work to become the best at what you are in basketball. And it gives our kids an understanding of the work ethic and the fun that goes through when you, like Brian, who gave me my first computer? Brian gave me a computer. I don't even know why he gave it to me, but he said I needed one. It was a 385 dinosaur. But that dinosaur, because he gave it to me, made my life a lot easier. So I'm trying to give back to them how basketball can make your life easier. I had an opportunity to go to play at Marquette when I was young. McGuire sent people to prison to scout me, and I just didn't have the knowledge to go further. But basketball has helped me find my life. So I do it, and everybody asks me, why do you keep doing it? When we were in our worst season, people say, why do you keep doing it? They talk to you wrong. They don't show up for games. I tell them, it ain't about them. It's about me getting what I need. I try to, and if they can get what I need out of it and get their stuff. We have sent over 12 people to China, Egypt, New Zealand, Dubai, Qatar. That would have never went nowhere unless we were doing this.
Wow. That is fantastic.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of this broadcast. We usually share an educational moment. We did forget to do our transition for the educational moment featuring information that we learned from last time. We'll do that for our next show.
We can do it next show. It's okay.
our next guest is probably going to actually be Tony again. So this is kind of like a test run for next time when we'll do. We want to make sure we could get on and kind of have a good broadcast with Tony since this is his first time. And then we're going to do some special promotion. We'll probably focus on more on the business aspects. There's a whole discussion about how he's grown the correctional treatment side of his services. We haven't even brushed the tip of yet, which I'd love to get to. And his whole business philosophy, which is growing his business into $1 million venture at this point, which I would love to explore. That topic next from the business perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of a great background into his life as we move into our next discussion. So probably next Thursday is when we will bring him back and have another business networking broadcast.
I'll be glad to.
I'd like to. Fantastic. You'll be available
Fantastic.
same time next week?
Yes, I will. Same time. I could be here.
Fantastic. Great. Thanks, Tony.
Stephanie, our co-producer, who kind of hooks all this up and keeps the wheels running and interviews our guests and who deals with the technology and shares the links to all the websites. She has a big job to do on this broadcast because you have so many websites that for so many of your different business ventures, keeping those things rolling. And thank you for Gabriel, if he's still watching, or he might be playing video games while he's doing this broadcast. And also to my co-host, Philip. We'll catch you next time on the BNI Blast on Blab.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, guys.